Hey everybody, I'm Dan O'Day. Welcome to Fantasy Baseball. Baseball along here with Steve Romano. Hey Steve.
How's it going?
Very good. We're going to talk about our 10 team 5 by 5 Roto League. It's auction league, and we've been in it for almost 20 years. Steve, let's talk about DraftMasters.
I love DraftMasters. It's something we've been doing for a long time. A bunch of old school friends. We fly into Vegas. It's an auction draft. We have a live auctioneer. We have keepers. We keep six players off a 30-man roster. There's inflation so that your keepers cost more the longer you have them. It's a great setup. It's a pretty awesome league. Whenever I talk to fantasy sports players about it, they're always kind of like, "Wow, that's more than I ever thought of." So yeah,
Absolutely. And, we're lucky enough to have people who are into it and active. And it's been a fun league with friends for sure and competitive without a doubt. And this year, as any other year, the early standings won't mean as much towards the end. But right now, the standings have Furies in first place with 70 points, Highland Park Crushers in second place with 66 and a half, and Seatown in third with 64. The top three. Furies has been in first for a little while.
Zach's team looks good. I think it wasn't one of the ones we loved a lot out of the gate, but we did think it was in the top half for sure.
Absolutely, but I wanted to bring up one thing. I was looking at the team and I was looking at the stats and stuff, and I looked at Zach's pitching stats are 21, right? So I'm like, he has 10 in solds. So the rest of his pitching stats, he has 11.
Oh my.
My math is correct, Steve. I got my abacus out, and so it's very yeah. So his pitching is being boosted by the Solds approach, leading that, but not good overall. And in WHIP, he's seventh place, and wins, he's eighth place, and ERA, he's in ninth place, and in Ks, he's in ninth place. So I don't look. I know about innings. Maybe you could look up innings per. I'm just looking at total because he is in ninth in Ks. Usually he's higher in Ks.
Whoa, yeah, he's always been in the
Always.
top three.
So
Always.
do you have it in front of you?
And
Ks per inning?
yeah, I can pull that up. I'm kind of shocked as I pull that up now that you're mentioning it.
Yep.
With all of the relief pitchers he has,
Yep.
I'm kind of shocked how bad his ERA and WHIP are. What's going
Yeah.
on with that? Pro-
I'm going to guess somebody exploded
yeah, I guess.
a couple times. Yeah, I don't know, and we could dig deeper, but that's pretty amazing to me. He has 11 combined points in four categories in pitching, um, so that's interesting. And then after you looking that up, by the way?
Yep, I am. I do have the team year-to-date totals of the K per nine,
Yeah, yeah.
and at the moment, the number one K per nine at 10.34 is your Stony Scrappers. That'd be you.
That's the Stony Scrappers. That's beautiful to hear. I did know that.
10.34.
Yeah, I did know that. I was second right now in the league in strikeouts, but I hadn't looked at innings, everybody innings. That's great.
Um, yeah, and interesting, because I keep track of this pretty good. Zach has forced me to because of his previous strategies, and Baldy too, to some degree. Um, but usually there's more standouts and then more bottom feeders. And right now, it looks like not what I expected. I expected there to be more standouts, but actually, it looks like there's a stronger middle class
Wow.
because I think it used to be like, oh, one and two, and then it would be three and four. But now it's like three, four, five, six, and seven are all pretty close, you know? So it seems like an early speculation would be this relief pitcher thing is boosting the middle class more than the upper class.
It's a good observation. Now, looking at innings real quick, I noticed that Zach only has 168 innings. I have
Well,
190. Seatown and Highland Park Crushers are
yes,
over 200.
the The last in innings is Eddie with 152.
Wow.
Eddie also has the lowest K per nine at 8.45.
Ouch.
Yeah, that ain't good. That's two
So
less than you.
right. So he's low in a starter inning wise and low in Ks across the board.
But then Zach, he's second at 8.68.
Oh my God! I never thought I'd see a baseball Furies team with that kind of ratio.
Never. I would
Never,
never. I think that's probably the lowest K per nine ratio he's had in
ever.
maybe ever. I was
I,
going to say 8 years, but it
I,
could be ever.
we drafted Vegas. I think that would be the long shot bet. I mean, come on. I would never bet on that without a doubt.
Never.
That's
Never.
interesting. It's very interesting. But so, yeah, I was just glad to see. How many innings do you have? By the way, let me look up.
Looking at if I sort by innings here, uh, Garrett, as usual, remember last year he got way the fuck out in front and he was all in front with all these counting stats, but then he came crashing back. But he's first at 211. He's
211. Isn't Mike?
Isn't
Isn't Mike right
innings.
behind him though?
Mike is at 207.
Right.
Okay. Then there's you at 199.
Okay.
Then I'm at 189.
Wow.
Slugger's at 186. Rick, Slugger's is Hunter. Hunter's at 186. Rick is at 171. Zach at 168. Tommy at 166. Chris at 164. Eddie last at 152.
Interesting. Well, listen, it's a long season. You can definitely get your innings when you need them along the way. But
Sure.
I don't know. Pitching is always strong at the beginning of the season, I think, and you don't want to fall too far back. But no one's too far back right now, I would say. But interesting strategy by Zach. I
No,
just thought that interesting. 11 points in four categories.
yes, agreed. And just pointing out, uh, Tom has the second best K per nine, but he's like, third lowest in innings pitched. So that's usually a good place for somebody to catch up.
Right.
You can catch that up pretty fucking good. That's a
Ab-
good area.
Absolutely, it's a great area. And Tom's doing good. We'll get into the rest of the standings. I'm in fourth place at 60 and a half. Ape in 59 and a half, right behind me in fifth place. Sluggers, 55 points in sixth place. And then there's Tommy Baseball, 52 and a half. And if you break it down, he's 17 and a half points away from first place. And in April, that's not far at all, really.
No, you
No.
know, with the stats for sure. One thing I remember one time pointing out players' ops. Their on base plus slugging, right? And Chris Baldy said something like, "Is ops a stat?" No, so who gives a fuck, right? And you're right, but there are certain stats that can be not that ops is one of them, but there are stats that can be a little more predictive as what you can expect or hope for. And then
Absolutely.
there's stats of like, yeah, this happened, but that doesn't mean that that's who that person is,
Yeah.
right? So I do have ops as a sortable category. So just to say, like, regardless of whatever's happening as a counting stat in our league,
5 by 5.
the
Yeah.
players we have started, my team, I have the shittiest team ops in the league. My team ops is 694 as a
See,
team.
well, Steve, that's a great lead-in for me to go over the rest of the standings. You're next after Tommy Baseball. You're 7.5 points behind him at 45 points. Then Big Al with 43 points. He was ahead of you before the start of today. And then Baldy coming up in last place with 34 points. So your ops is low. Your point total is low. There could be a connection.
Yeah. Also, I think the only person behind me is Chris, right? He's 10th behind
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Well,
In the
Chris is
standings?
in the standings,
No, you went
right?
ahead. You went ahead of Big Al today because of some people you played. Campbell went two for
Oh, all
three with
right.
two ribbies. Story went 3 for 4.
All right. Well, regardless, the worst team in ops is me, 694.
Then
Baldy's
Baldy.
696. Chris is 696. That's not much better.
Nope.
And then Eddie's 707. So
I,
there you go.
wow. And there's the bottom three teams. So
To
yeah,
put it in,
it's a good barometer. on the
Yep.
counting
And
stats.
to flip side it, the number one ops in the league is fucking Zach, the Baseball Furies, who has an 806 team ops so
That's
far.
that is crazy.
He's
Wow.
112 points higher as a team ops than me. So yeah, it is what it is.
Wow. So those are the standings in DraftMasters as we enter week 6, I guess, correct? Or
Well,
no, four,
no, it's like
four,
week
week 4.
four technically. Although
Yeah.
the first week's like a 10-day week, but yeah.
Yes. Yes, week 4. Um, and some players are doing better than others. Do you have any players you're worried about, Steve, like in the league? Like you're like, why aren't they like on your team possibly? Or you're just like, it's taking a while for them to get going.
I would well, yeah,
As
that's a tough call. I want to say everybody on my team, but I don't really have expectations for everybody on my team. So that's difficult right there. But there are some players off to bad starts. I mean, I've been harping on Juan Soto for a while just because he's Juan Soto and he's $46 and batting 256, but he's had a couple of good games. He's currently ranked 99.
okay, he's gonna be fine.
Devers, yeah, he'll be fine. Devers has Devers has been playing a lot better, but he's still only up to 281 in the rankings.
Well, he built himself quite a hole.
Yeah, he did build himself a hole. Um, Jose Ramirez, I'm not worried about him. He's ranked 139. Yordan Alvarez, fuck, he cost Hunter $37 to keep, and he's still ranked at 437. He's only got two homers, two
Wow.
homers, and he's hitting 206.
Oh, that's not good
So
at
that's
all.
pretty bad. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I never want to root against Tommy. I want Tom to do good, but I'm kind of glad Vlad's ranked 273 because I'm not buying that big contract for a giant first baseman.
It's a big contract. That's a whole other level, not fantasy, but you're right. I that contract to me seemed to be big, but we'll see how Vladdy Jr. does. What about Willie Adames? He's also not playing well so far.
Willie Adamas. How much did Willie Adamas cost?
That's a good
Like
question.
20 something?
Yeah.
Um,
He's batting
uh,
202. He's ranked 399.
I think 399. That's a
That's what
lot
his
of
rank.
pull. Jiminy Jam. That's a multi-pager. I mean, get it to all players on one page.
Right. Oh, wow. Interesting. You know what I'm looking at? I'm looking at all players from last year, 2024, like the final stats, all batters. Judge, Witt, Jose Ramirez, De La Cruz, Soto, a little disappointing. I believe Henderson has also had a slow start. Gunner.
He started injured though. Remember, he missed the first
He,
week.
he did, but he definitely, is affecting him. And, think about how high he finished last year. I don't know if you realize, but he finished ranked 7th.
Well, I know he was traded for straight up for Shohei Ohtani, right? Wasn't that the deal?
That it may have been. And by the way, that's his second trade because remember I traded him to Mike or something.
Oh, right. And then
Right.
Mike traded him to Rick for Shohei Ohtani.
So,
So
wow, Gunner is a valuable asset. Of course, I got nothing for him but a reliever, so that was a stupid trade. So he's starting. You're right. He did start Durant. Hey, he's a guy on your team. You don't always believe in him, but Durant is starting slow. He's ranked 185. He shows some life every so often.
yep, he has started slow for sure. I mean,
He finished 11th. Altuve is ranked 111, so he's doing okay. Finished 25th last year.
yep. I mean, he some low counting stats, I believe, but 302, 748 OPS, 3-3. Nothing amazing,
So
but
I
still
want
on pace for 25-25, kind
that
of.
that yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's with him, without a hot streak doing that, so he could easily get it higher. So a guy I wanted to bring up last year, he finished ranked 34. I could have. kept him. He got traded to a park that's not as homer friendly. Josh Naylor, I forget how much he went for. You might be able to figure it out. I'll look it up if you can't. He is ranked right now 20th. He's playing well.
Josh Naylor went for $28.
Well, for 20 bucks. He's got 14
I
runs, 15 ribbies, 4 homers, batting 333. His 406 on base percentage. I always like to look at that because, if you got that high on base percentage, even though it's not one of our stats, it's showing me that you're getting on, you're seeing the zone, you're in the flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and his ops is 954, so he's crushing it.
Crushing it.
Y-
So,
You know,
my overreaction to him being traded, it was not good. I kept him.
well, it was how much did you have him for last year?
I believe it was like 14 or 17 or something like that to keep him, I believe.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, 28 was a crazy bid. I'm pretty sure that was a drastic overbid
Oh,
based off
yeah.
sheets.
I was in on him early, like up to 17 or so, but he definitely went. But he's playing great. I just wanted to point that out because I was not talking high of him before the season started. So he's playing well.
Yeah,
And I like to
and I
look up.
thought
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
thought going to Arizona, I thought going to Arizona was definitely a park upgrade for him, but so many people,
No, downgrade
so mu-
for a
no, I
lefty.
thought
For a
Arizona
lefty.
would be a really.
Yeah.
Hmm. I just thought I like the environment change for him, but everybody,
Yes,
all
that I
the
like.
writings I used to read was kind of like his peripherals don't support the results. They're like he's
Right, absolutely.
overachieving.
Well, Cleveland, didn't they open up a door or something last year and the flow was better and people what did they did something. I don't know. I read something.
Yes,
There's something
it was
along those.
the men's room door on the fucking concourse level.
Exactly. And so he but anyways, Arizona is worse for lefties, but he's showing it doesn't matter even if he only finishes 20 homers, he's batting over 300, he's just producing them, he's playing great, and I did not pick up on him at all. Julio Rodriguez, he's I always like to bring him up because he's a Seattle boy. He's batting 188 with a 310 on base. 17 runs is nice because 12 walks. I mean, his on base percentage is 310, so he's 12 walks is pretty nice.
Yeah,
Um,
his ops is 675.
Oof, yeah,
675.
yeah, that's just.
Oh,
Oh man, he's young. He's 24. He's gone through some growing pains. I don't worry about him in
his
the long run, but I don't necessarily know what I feel about him this year. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I would hope that
Yeah.
he's not just gonna get wasted in that fucking ballpark with that crappy lineup.
Well, change the backstop so you can see better. I mean, do something because I think he'll be playable always, but he may not reach his peak yet, or maybe this is just a bad start and he's going to flourish later. You just don't know in this game of baseball. But
This
he's an
this might
obvious
be the
talent.
last year.
Yeah,
This might be the like I think next year he's a $10 keeper.
right.
So I mean, like let's say he's ranked 140 now. If he finishes the year ranked 88, are you keeping him for $29? And I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, right? I kept Mookie Betts for 57, so whatever.
Yeah, and I still can't believe that, but I like Mookie, so I don't want to down talk Mookie. Mookie's great. Looking at my team real quick, anyone I'm feeling down about my catchers, Salvi Perez and Real Muto from the Phillies. They're not playing so great. They're two of the better catchers. What you would call them probably top five catchers, and I know catchers aren't ranked as high overall, but 580 something and 402 just aren't doing it. So. Jimenez, after a hot start, has just been awful. He's batting 205. He is ranked 101 still, but that's only because he had a good first week and a half. Stott, I'm
Yeah.
really happy with my Stott trade. He's been playing well. I read a bad article about him by somebody thinking, oh, he'll be droppable by the midseason, but he's been playing great and actually leading off for the Phillies. So that's been kind of nice to see. Manzardo's woke up last week. We talked about him seeming to fall asleep. He's woke up lately. I don't know if you noticed.
The yep, no, I did. He had a couple of good games this week.
Two homers the last
Just
two games. A homer each game.
looking through your team, sorting by salary on a stats page, I the only ones, yeah, everybody's within some level of acceptability this early into the season.
Right.
The only ones that really jump out is, yep, Salvador Perez. That's not good at
Yeah.
583. Um, Corey Seager at 279, but the his slash line's good. He just doesn't have the counting stats.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. I wouldn't be worried about that.
Nope.
And then
Playing well.
Real Muto. So really, I would say you can't really bitch about your hitting. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's off to great starts, but it's early and none of them look bad except for your catchers.
Absolutely. When I look at my team, I feel good about my hitting, but when I look at the standings, so I have 37 pitching points, which right now is the highest amount of pitching points, and my batting points is only 23 and a half. But I feel like they're going to come around, some of these guys, and some of these guys, even with decent rankings, are going to get have lower rankings by the end of the season. But I'm lacking batting right now when it comes to accumulating points. Nice to know my pitching's doing so well. Um, and speaking of my pitching, since I am leading in strikeouts, let's take a quick look at my pitchers. I got Wheeler and Robbie Ray, Carlos Sanchez, which I was really happy to pick up, and DeGrom and Reagans and Senga.
Was Senga a pickup too, or was he a
Yep,
draft?
Senga was a pickup, and Sanchez
So
was a
Senga
pickup.
and Sanchez was a pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the great pickups. Those are
Uh,
great pickups.
I was all over them. I was very excited. So I had when I went into the season with three starters already, and I drafted, Robbie Ray and I drafted Ryan, who I'm high on. But after I picked up Sanchez and I picked up um, Senga, I was like, I can trade Ryan, and that's how I got Stott. Maybe I overtraded for Stott. I'm a Stott believer. I'm a believer, and he's a Philly. And so, these two pickups allowed me to trade a guy who was like my fifth pitcher, you know, and you need
Right.
five good starters. I think you do, anyways. Zach would argue maybe. And speaking of Phillies and that subject, I want to touch on that, Steve. You have two Red Sox I saw starting for you today. Whether it be your favorite team or a team you just happen to have players you've accumulated because that's the way it worked out, or you pick up somebody who's you already have two players. How many players on a team can you have? Like, for instance, I had three Phillies starting. Is that too many, Steve?
I don't. I don't. I think that's the line.
That's the
I
line.
think two is easy. That goes
Yep.
without saying.
Anyway,
Three,
yeah.
sure, I'm fine with three. Four, I would rather not do four.
Right.
And it's not because of the fantasy aspect, because in the Roto League, we have 14 hitting spots and 9 pitching spots active every day. But it's not about the 14 pitching spots I have. It's about the 9 hitting spot, sorry, not 14 hitting spots. It's about the 9 hitting spots that the actual team has in real life.
Right.
And I mean, if you're starting 3 out of 9, I mean, that's a good fucking chunk right there. It better be three very good guys.
Absolutely. And, and one of them for sure is Schwarber. Stott's the other. And, Real Muto's the other one. And, listen, in the long run, Real Muto is going to be a top five, seven catcher, probably. Probably top 10 at least. So it's not
Yeah,
too
and
much, especially if one of them is a catcher like that.
yeah, catchers changes the equation a bit because now you're kind of just looking for at bats and opportunities.
Right.
And there's only so many catchers who are like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a guaranteed 500 plate appearances. There's probably like 9 of those guys.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And Real
if
Muto's
if
one of them
one
if
of the
healthy.
yeah, absolutely. So if three of your guys from one team are a catcher, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. If you got four guys on one team and one's a catcher,
That's pushing it.
I I still don't like four from one team.
I
I'm not a
still, yeah,
fan.
even with that lesser equation put in. By the way, and Romuto, the nice thing about him, he's got four stolen bases this year. Last year he was kind of injured, only played 99 games, had two. But 2 years ago, he had 16 stolen bases. To get 16 stolen bases, he has four already this year. Out of your catcher position is quite the bonus.
It is
And and,
for
and,
sure.
and and that segue made me remember when I was looking at the stats the other night. Let's make sure I'm still there or not. But last I looked in the stats, yeah, I'm second in stolen bases right behind Zach. He has 39. I have 35, Highland Park with 33, Tommy Baseball with 32 stolen bases, and then you with 30, and Baldy right behind you with 29. That's the top six. That's the stolen base ratio. I'm pretty happy with my stolen base total. I was a little worried about going into the season.
Yeah, you did have a bunch of power hitters that had the ability to give you 5 stolen bases or less on your team.
I still do.
I'm glad. Well, yes, you still do, but you've tiptoed around it, and yeah, you've made some changes.
Yeah, I made some changes. I hoping that that keeps up. And how's it's going? So, how do you feel your season's going forward? We brought up earlier that you're way down in the listings. Right before we get into maybe like pickups and stuff in for CBS or DraftMasters the past week, you are in eighth place. Obviously, you're in 45. Let's real quick. Let's delve into the perspective of a manager. What's going on with your team? Not hitting, not pitching, both.
I would say both. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
had a lot of letdowns early. Um, a lot of my hitting guys have started off cold, and my pitching has just gotten crushed lately. I mean, after the draft, I was like, oh shit, Chris Sale, Blake Snell, Luis Castillo, um, the Padres guy, Michael King. I kind of liked that. I had a bunch of relief pitchers, all quality, ready to go. And then, um, well, Blake Snell goes to the injured list, shock. And then Chris Sale sucked, which we talked about last week.
Right.
Couldn't do it 2 years in a row. And then just going through some other shit
Well,
in that
Castillo.
aspect.
Well, Castillo also round out that pitching staff you brought up. Not pitching great,
Oh,
but I do want to give King some credit. He's pitching well for you.
oh yeah, King. I kept him. He's currently ranked 31st. His numbers are great.
And
2.57,
And
1.07.
Pavetta, who you drafted.
Pavetta, who I drafted, yeah, you can't complain with what he's done. He's ranked number 15th overall, and I got him for $5. And at the time, the last, he was the highest ranked pitcher I left on the board by far. But it was towards the end of the draft. Everyone was waiting to get him cheap. I had money. I
So
got him for
that's a
five
question I
bucks.
want to give you then. So is it a guy you kind of had targeted, or you just realized you had to target him because he was the best one left at the time?
No, I was probably with most in this, or at least let's say with Zach.
Right.
Um, I saw him ranked high originally. Like I built my sheet, I tweaked it. I rebuilt it, I tweaked it. I rebuilt it. Oh, I like this. Let's run with this. And I saw that early and I was like, oh fuck, well that's clearly a target of mine. Like I'm gonna get him for like $1. No doubt. I'm getting him for $1. Because he was ranked like $17 on my thing, you know?
Wow.
So and
Wow.
I knew none of us were gonna bid that. I knew that. Um so I waited till the end, and then I forget who I did get into a slight bidding war with, but I got him for 5. And at that point, I was like, no, I'm getting him. I was
Yeah.
shocked he went to 5,
Yeah,
but I
because
knew I was getting him.
at the time, you thought you could get him for one. Well, listen, last year he won 6-12, but for fantasy purposes, he had 172 Ks and 145 innings, which is really nice. And his 1.13 WHIP is doable. His 4.14 ERA is a little high, and similar stats the year before. Higher Ks and innings, WHIP about the same, 1.12, 4.04 ERA, 10-9 record, 6-12 last year. So not a lot of wins.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah,
it's about going from one of the top 5 offense generating parks to a bottom 5
a-
offensive generating park.
absolutely, and he's going to average over 9 strikeout, per inning. I mean, per game,
So
per
yeah, I
nine.
mean, for me, it was that the same reason that made me not keep Juan Soto, or like
Right.
because I knew he wasn't great in Petco, and then he was fucking great in Yankee Stadium, and the Met Stadium was similar to Petco. You got to pay attention to that type of shit.
You do, it's very true. In fantasy, sometimes you just want to take the best player, but you do have to think about even the surrounding, what lineup they're in. That makes a difference. Like Stott on a team in a mid team, I'm not really excited about, but on the Phillies, his stats are going to be a
Oh
little
yeah,
better. Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
if Stock got traded to the Mariners for a pitcher,
Right.
you'd probably cut him tomorrow.
I wouldn't need him, and he's no longer a Philly. So absolutely. No, but he's not being traded. He's Harper's friend, I believe. They're like buds from college or something, if I'm correct.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I wanted to ask you. You wanted to go through some of the pickups that have happened in the league or in
Yeah,
CBS.
let's sure. And let's pick up through the last week. I think we have a pretty active league. There's pickups and drops every fucking day.
Absolutely.
Um, and sometimes, yeah, I check and I'm like, oh, good, I didn't want any of those guys. And then there's plenty of other days where I'm like, damn it, I forgot about that guy. Like when I checked in the morning, I was like, I wanted to remember to grab him at night, and then I didn't do it. And, whatever, I'm working too long, or I come home and I just space it. And that happens too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. You forget.
if we if you go back, a pretty mellow week for the most part. I mean, it started off on last Monday, right? We do a Monday through Sunday league. That's how
Right.
the standings go for head-to-heads and all that stuff. And for the upkeep when we look in our league, if we're looking back through scoring periods, um, I picked up that center fielder from Tampa Bay, Cameron Meisner. Did
Yes,
you did you follow him at all?
I did.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Like he could get cut next week. We'll see. But I
Well,
kind of liked that
Tampa
pickup
Bay's
when it
got some playing
happened.
time. They have some injuries, and I looked up his track record in the minors. It was decent. I, you know, yeah, it's worth a shot. Absolutely, he'll give you some. Now he wasn't. He was more of a steals guy, wasn't he?
No, they got that other guy,
Oh, that's the guy. I'm thinking about the other guy that is the steals guy.
Mangum.
Mangum. Yeah, Mangum.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got a few good young guys they're giving some playing time to. Yeah, well, let's go back. I mean, wasn't it a week ago, if I remember correctly? I mean, we can go. Let's start from a week ago going forward, shall we? Ho-
yeah,
Um,
the 14th.
I don't know what date it is. I am looking at a different app, but what date did Baldy drop Hoskins?
That was the week before because Mike picked him up on the Sunday of the 13th, so he must have dropped him on Thursday or
Well,
Friday.
let's start there on Mike picking him up.
All right.
So, so let Mike picked up Hoskins. He dropped a relief pitcher from the Dodgers to get him. He went up to $3, which is a smart bid. I don't know if anyone else bid, but he's worth it. And that was a big drop
Yep.
and a big pickup, Steve.
Yeah, as we mentioned that last week. I thought it was very premature of Chris to drop him so early, and you defended it. Not like defended, but you just pointed out, I get it, but his team is so struggling right now. He's looking for
Right.
anything,
Oh yeah,
and
I
and
just
the numbers, that opening 2 week slash line for Hoskins, it was bad. Like
it
it
was
wasn't good.
really bad. And I know Hoskins from being an ex-Philly, and he was coming off an injury last year. And I didn't defend it so much. He said I get when you're in last place and you really need someone and you don't know who to drop. And there was
Right.
no reassurance, but he's been really hot lately, hasn't he,
Yeah,
Hoskins?
yeah. And I mean, I was like, I saw that and I was like, I immediately put him in my scout list. But Mike took it one further. Mike's like, no, I'm going to put in an ad claim and I'm going to put in a $3 claim right now.
Yeah,
And that looks like what should have been done. I mean, because now over the past week, Hoskins has started to catch a little fire, just a little.
absolutely. He's since the 14th or the since the 15th, he's gone, 3 for 4, 2 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 3, 3 for 5 with 3 homers and
Yeah,
eight ribbies. I mean, he's really hot. I mean, listen, he's one of those guys who has his hot streaks and his cold streaks, and I think he's kind of known for that. But right now he's an upswing, and I think that just analyzing that drop and pickup, scary drop, great pickup.
yeah, that could very well go down as an important one at the
Yeah,
end of the
if
season.
if he finishes with like close to 30 homers, I would agree.
Well, if Mike is contending again, right? If Mike is a top three team and battling for position, that pickup might matter.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then besides that, your Meisner pickup was an interesting one. Nothing else really drops
What are,
out at me.
yeah, all right. I'm
Schmidt
looking
for
over the next
King.
few weeks.
Schmidt's the Yankee starter for King, the relief pitcher for
Yeah.
Houston. That was by the Furies. I picked up Matt Mervis. I had a slot open. I dropped somebody. Bailey, the catcher for Frisco. As I think he's Gold Glover, but he's was picked up, and Vargas was dropped.
Yep.
Steele was dropped because he's gone for the season for the Cubs.
Yep. Yep.
And this is a nice
Uh, t-
pickup. A lot of fantasy talk on this guy is Mal from the Rangers, a starting pitcher. He
yep.
started really well. Zach bid $4 and got him.
Yeah, he did. Hey, $4.
Did anyone
But
else
sure.
bid?
And
I don't think so.
all right, hold on. Oh, 5 report. I would click that link right
While
there.
he's looking, he dropped Nito, the catcher from Detroit, to pick up Mal.
Nope, he was the
That's the
only
only
one.
bit.
four
But you
bucks.
know what? You talked to me about that too. I picked up a couple of people for five. Manzardo last week. He's cold. He's hot again, which is nice. Two home runs last two games. But you do sometimes you overbid for someone, and you could hindsight it going, well, I gotta save $4. But you just want to make sure you get the guy you want.
Yeah, we've all been there. There's been multiple times I've done it. And then on the flip side, there's been even way more times where I've put in claims and didn't get somebody
Right.
because I didn't bid enough,
Right, and
you
that
know?
that just
But
claws at your side. It really does, and that hurts a lot. We'll get to one of those for me. Dylan Moore was picked up, and Tovar was dropped by Baldy. Baldy looking for stats. We talked about Dylan Moore before. That's his name, Dylan, right?
Dylan
He
Moore,
plays a lot of positions. He will get you stolen bases. Tovar was dropped. I'm not like so pro Tovar, but he has played well in the past. That's an interesting drop. I picked up Palvin Smith, dropped Jay Smith, Josh Smith. So this was me being impatient. So Palvin Smith was really hot for Arizona. I believe his name is Josh Smith. He got a little
yep,
injured. I like him. He plays a few positions for the Rangers. We may have even brought him up in the podcast last week. I can't remember. Um, but I had him on my team, and he's playing well. But he got injured. He's out like 5 6 days. I kind of dropped him, thinking I might be able to pick him back up. Right? Said I'll pick up this Palvin Smith because he's hot. Because I am all for riding out someone who has a hot week or month or whatever. And I dropped Smith, and I'm regretting it. Okert was picked up over Dominguez. Dominguez, a former Philly, now in the Baltimore bullpen, was dropped.
yep.
O'Hearn picked up for Galvin Williams for Cleveland. Williams was
Interesting.
yeah, that's interesting for sure. By Seatown, looking for some first base corner help, possibly.
Corner infield. Yeah, sure. Some corner infield help.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's real quick see. Seatown is 29 and a half batting points and 34 and a half in fielding pitching points. So it is an interesting pickup and drop though, because well, Williams is not pitching well, from my understanding.
No, Williams isn't pitching well, and he does have his underlying metrics haven't been good either. So he's actually been worse than what I think he's been pitching.
Right. And he has been dropped across the league by many people.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not surprising. But he is a guy who could come back and pitch better later in the year.
Yep. Moving on to the next day.
The next day,
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Steve. We got after that we had Lopez. Otto Lopez was dropped by Zach. Nito was picked up, and BB was dropped. Another Cleveland
that's
pitcher
it.
dropped, and that's another drop that you can. I know he's not pitching great. I think he's had two good starts and two bad starts. I think I looked the other day, and but he was highly looked at coming into the season, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Zach picked up.
He was ranked high. I think he got nominated late to some degree, but he was expected to be better than to be dropped for a fucking catcher, a third round catcher.
And by the way, for a team that needs starters. By the way, he dropped Nito to pick up Maul, and then he later on picks up Nito and drops BB. So
He
interesting.
he got he got Tanner Beebe went for $11 at the draft.
And he just dropped him for a catcher he just dropped a couple days before. Interesting. He is in first place. Hayes was picked up by Zach. That was a nice pickup, I think.
Yep,
Dollar,
solid. I mean,
dollar for
I don't know
Burleson.
what's going. Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati has so many wishy-washy hitters who could fucking be fantasy heroes or totally irrelevant. It's hard to say.
They do. They have a
But at least,
complicated. They have too many people really for too many positions.
I mean, they got guys they got guys who are better versus lefties, guys better versus
Yep.
righties, and guys who are good hitters but bad fielders, and guys who are good fielders but bad hitters. And there's not enough positions. Luckily, they've had enough injuries to make more positions available, but who knows? The
Who
only good
knows?
thing anyone has going for them is at least they're playing in that ballpark.
They're playing in that ballpark. I think they have a platoon or two, like you were speaking of. And to finish out the pickups for the week, Dreyer was picked up a couple days ago, relief pitcher for the Dodgers for Romero, relief pitcher for St. Louis. I think that's Jojo Romero, isn't it? That's by Big Al. And then Abbott, another decent pickup by Zach. He dropped Schmidt from New York Yankees, the starter. He had just
Who,
picked up
yeah,
A.
who we had
Abbott.
just picked up like 2 days ago.
He had just picked up 2 days. Another guy he had just picked up and dropped, or vice versa. And then this is the one I brought up before. I dropped Smith to pick up Smith, and I put a claim in for Josh Smith. And Zach had a feeling I might, and he bid three, and I bid one, and I did not get Josh Smith, and I'm upset about it, Steve.
Who did you drop him for before?
Pa-
For Pavin Smith.
yeah,
Pavin Smith.
who's got he? Speaking of a platoon, he only starts against righties, but he's playing great. But I don't, he's a guy who's not going to make it through the season. That's for sure.
Well,
On my team, I mean.
Josh Smith probably won't either, if we're being fair, right?
No, that's very true. But I like his multi-position and where he plays. And the thing about Josh Smith, and I shouldn't say it, Zach will hear it, but if he plays well, he's going to keep him. If he does, he's going to drop him. But he doesn't really have a position. He's been moved around. But Bocce loves
Yeah.
them, and he's batting third. When you look at their box score for their games, it's like they're batting him third. A guy they're starting utility or third or left field, they're moving around, but they're batting him third. And so I just think his manager is a believer, and he is producing right now, um, which is the key. So he did have
I
5 or 6 days he was out. So we'll see. He could be dropped in a week.
Well, real quick, okay, I'm looking at his stats, right? Sure, he's on fire. He's hitting 378 with an ops of like 1,000, pretty much, like 990 something. But I mean, he's got one home run in 16 games, so that'd be 10 for the season.
Right.
Big whoop, right? And he's got three stolen bases. That'd be 30. So 10 homers, or 30 stolen bases. I don't really think you need to.
90
There's
runs,
nothing to have
90 runs, batting 379, which he won't hit.
90
No.
runs, 90 runs and 30 RBI. 90 runs and 30 RBI. Can you start that player?
Yeah.
No,
No.
you can't.
Uh, he has missed some time. That's why his stats are down. I wanted him. He's multi-position. I think he plays left, right, shortstop, and third on CBS. So I did
Yeah,
like
but
that.
his counting stats are completely unreliable. Unreliable.
I
Not
appreciate that. You're
unfortunate.
you're trying to make me not feel bad. I appreciate that, Steve. Thanks.
I mean, I get it. His batting 378 and his ops is great, but it's like Luis Arias on like one of his best months, basically.
So maybe he will be the downfall of Zach's team.
Well, I mean, that's one of those guys like, oh yeah, 2 for 4, 1 for 3, 2 for 3 all the time. And you're like, yeah, but the counting stats don't. I mean, I guess if he's hitting third, they should happen theoretically, but they haven't happened yet.
Right. So real quick before we wrap up the DraftMasters 10-team 5x5 league where we have solds this year instead of saves, you want to go through the CBS most added players or anything?
Sure, let's take a look real quick because you had mentioned a name pre starting of the cast, and I looked them up. On the CBS site of the roster trends most added recently, I think it's the past week.
Right,
Um, Nick Kurtz from the Athletics is 15, right? So at 17% increase in roster spots.
right.
Um, but something to bring up, I got him last week. How about my Michael Bush pickup, right? Remember, like
Sure.
my team's terrible. I needed corner infield help. I grabbed Michael Bush, and he hasn't stopped yet. It's only been a week, so maybe I can get a full month out of that guy. Uh,
Well, listen,
Matthew,
he had 21 homers last year and batted 250 in 152 games. I mean, he's 27. He was highly looked at when he was a young player coming up. And at 27, he maybe hasn't hit his stride yet. It's really his second season away from the Dodgers, isn't it? Second or third that he's starting.
yeah.
And so, that could be a good gamble. He has played well for you since you picked him up for sure. I like that play a lot.
Matthew Liberatore has picked up a lot. Carson Kelly, which sometimes I'm like, how shallow are some of these other leagues? Even sometimes I listen to other podcasts where they talk about and recommend players, and I'm like, a lot of people would say we play in a shallow league because it's only a 10-team league. But then when they recommend guys to pick up, I'm like, that guy has been picked up in my league for a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't understand how you're recommending these types of players. So, like Carson Kelly picked up the 12th most picked up player. Yeah, Carson Kelly's been rostered in our league for weeks.
absolutely.
Um,
We have deep leagues. I mean, I
uh,
mean, we only have 10 teams, but it's 30 plus counting injured players and one minor leaguer.
yep. Cameron Meisner, who I picked up. Pavin Smith is at 10. Gabriel Arias from the Cleveland Indians. Has he been picked up yet in our league?
I
You
don't think he
know,
has. I've
he
looked at him.
has. He
He
has.
was finally picked
Hunter
up.
has him.
Who?
Hunter has him.
Wow, good pickup.
Hunter.
I've looked at him a couple times and I have not picked him up. Good pickup, Hunter. He's getting playing time. He's multi-position.
Oh, he's 25 years old. He's basically plays every position. That's a solid pickup.
And from last time I
Uh,
looked, they're playing him.
yeah, no, they are playing him.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
that's a nice
there's
pickup, Hunter.
there's a guy. I'm like, I don't know. This is the type of thing where they could come back to bite us in the ass when we talk too much about what we're doing.
Yep.
But it's right there on the page. Number 8 is this relief pitch, or no, a pitcher from Milwaukee or in their farm system that the Red Sox just traded to Milwaukee. And the Red Sox traded a minor league second baseman, Nick York, to Pittsburgh to get this guy, Quinn Priester. And it was kind of viewed as an even swap based off position needs and depth and opportunities to be promoted. But then now here it is 4 months later, 3 months later, and the Red Sox sent him to Milwaukee for a pretty good haul, actually. Everyone liked what they did. Um, well, now this guy's the number 8 pickup in the league. So clearly some people think Milwaukee's about to call this starting pitcher up. Um, Andrew Abbott at 7, who Zach just got. Dylan Moore at 6, who Chris just got. Jonathan Aranda at
Yes, he's
did
playing
he
very
get
well. One of his things is I believe he was only starting against righties, but I think he got some starts over the weekend against lefties, and he's
But he's been
playing
in
very
our
well.
league since draft, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Mike's had him since the draft.
yeah, he's yeah.
Yeah. Tyler Molly just got, he's number 4 most added. Chandler Simpson, the speedy center fielder from Tampa Bay,
Another Tampa Bay
who
player getting
started.
playing time.
It is the way Tampa Bay's farm system produces is just fucking ridiculous
Well,
to
let's
me.
talk about Tampa Bay real quick. We'll take a couple seconds. Amazing, amazing. No, I'm serious
It's
because I mean they do. Where are they when it comes to the budget per year? And almost every year they're a contender or close, close to making the playoffs.
And, like let's say it was probably 7, 8 years ago now that their president of operations, Andrew Friedman, left to go to the Dodgers,
Yeah,
and he brought that whole
Cons-
building from the bottom up to the Dodgers, and he has succeeded at it, right? He's
absolutely.
absolutely, because the Dodgers produce farm talent and they have the money to do whatever's needed. So it's a double win. But then Tampa Bay just kept doing it under Kyle Bloom. And then Kyle Bloom left to go run the Red Sox. And Tampa Bay just kept fucking doing it. So even though their team presidents and their GMs and their coaches keep switching, Tampa Bay's have been producing minor league talent for like 14, 15 fucking years now. It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy. They're just it's very impressive. I don't think it gets talked about enough. Tampa Bay is a contending team, but they're towards the bottom third, I would say, of their budget. So it's very impressive. I want to bring
Oh,
up Nick.
easy.
Easy. I want to bring up Nick Kurtz. I did pick up Nick Kurtz. He was drafted by somebody. I don't know who. I believe in the snake round. Because at the end we have 7 picks of snake round after accumulating our 23-man roster of using our
Yep.
fob budget. He had a great college career, 15, 24 homers, 22 homers in like 50 games, So he was coming out of college big time, 338, 353, 306. I mean, this guy was a monster coming out of college. He's played, I mean, he has played 32 games in the minors, but he's batting 336 with 11 homers. And so he's not a guy out of high
Yeah.
school. He got through college, only 32 games in. They're bringing him up today to play tomorrow, or bring him up tomorrow. And that's an interesting pickup. It could be big. He's one of those blue chip prospects.
Well, I like that. It's similar to Benintendi, high draft pick, didn't play a lot in the minors, got called up. It all worked out. I also like that the Athletics are playing in a AAA park this year. So if there
Ab-
was ever a time to take a flyer on a minor leaguer hitter from the Athletics, this is the year.
Absolutely. They've worked him in. They're going to put Soderstrom at DH. They put Rooker or put Kurtz at DH. Rooker's been playing some outfield. So they're going to work him in the lineup. We'll see if he gets the playing time he needs. But I agree. Playing in the AAA park is going to help a lot. It's a long shot. You never know. These guys come up. Sometimes they need a year of seasoning. I always bring up, I think Greg Maddux was 6-14 his first year in the majors. So, players need a season sometimes to bake, so to speak, and get used to the major league
Hey,
level.
there was two last players on the roster trends list. Uh, and they're both whatever. One is one, one's the other. Austin Hayes, who we just mentioned, Zach picked him up, the Cincinnati guy. He's the number two. He's had a 37% increase in
Well,
rostering this week. And he's 29 though. He's 29.
yeah, he
I,
is 29, and his best season ever was 22 homers, 71 ribbies, batting 256. He did bat 275 one year in 566 plate appearances, so his average is higher, but only had 16 homers that year. So it's not like some guy who has this fantastic, great track record. I think he's a steady
yeah,
player.
no.
I think in real life, he's probably better than he is in fantasy.
Yeah, he'll be dropped in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but
29.
people are saying, oh, he was injured last year. He's coming out. He's 29. People are high on him right now. Yeah.
And then the number one was a 38% pickup this week.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a pitcher. Maybe he's got 2 starts this week, so it's whatever. But Jose Quintana for the
Really?
Brewers.
Wow.
Yeah.
He must
Now
be
I'm
he
looking.
must be a two-start starter this week.
He's he's made 2 starts, and through those 2 starts, his ERA is 0.71 and his WHIP is 0.87.
Well, Steve, listen, we're talking a guy. He's 36 years old. This is 14 years in the majors. He went 10-10 last year with a 3.75 ERA, and his WHIP was 1.25. And in 135 strikeouts in 170 innings. So not a strikeout per inning, but respectable enough for a 14-year veteran giving you innings.
Oh, in real life, I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'd have them. I'd have that guy as my fourth starter all day long.
yeah. If he's
Really.
healthy and can give you those innings, I totally agree. I
But
love.
in fantasy, I would imagine that the fact that he's at the top of the chart this week, that tells me he's a two-start pitcher in head-to-head leagues.
Okay, Steve. Without looking, he's been around for 14 years, and so he's bounced around, been on a few teams. Has he ever won a championship?
World Series?
Yeah, has he ever been on a team that won a championship? I'm going to let you know. He's been, well, I mean, if I let you know, but
No,
I mean,
I
he's been
mean,
playing since
no.
2012. You want me to know the teams he's been on?
I would say he has not won a World Series.
So he was on the White Sox, Cubs, Angels,
Was he on the White
Giants.
Sox team? The White Sox didn't win that year, though, right? They just went to the World Series.
Yeah, no, they did win that one year. What year did
No
they?
way. Did they?
They didn't. Yeah, what year did the White
When
Sox?
Jose Guillen was their loudmouth manager,
Yeah,
and
didn't
they were
they win?
kicking
They
ass for a
won the
few
World
years.
Series that year. We don't know what year that was. We have to look that up, obviously. But yeah, they did White Sox World Series win. So let's see what it says. No, I guess not. They swept the Astros in 4 games in 2005.
2005, really?
Yeah, the
It's a long
Astros.
time ago.
The Astros were in the National League. Yeah, but that was the
Yeah.
Ozzie team. That was
No,
the
no,
Ozzie
no.
team.
The Astros won, right?
I don't think so.
Mm. Anyways, that was a long time ago.
Listen, it was the 101st edition of the World Series. It was best of seven playoffs between the AL champion White Sox and the National League champion Astros. And the White Sox swept the Astros in 4 games. That's just
Damn.
whether you want to believe it or not, that's what happened.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, but yes, it's funny you bring up the White Sox because they stank, but he's never won a championship. Quintana, the biggest pickup, probably because he's a two-start starter and he's throwing pretty well so far this year. So that's Draft Masters Fantasy League. Steve, anything to wrap up before we wrap up our talk about the Draft Masters Fantasy Baseball League?
No, I just want to point out that I do love waking up and checking my team every morning.
Yeah.
And I also love checking my team every night when I can have the wherewithal to do it.
You know what? I also, in the beginning of the season is obviously a little more exciting, than the middle or the end of the seasons, especially where you are in the standings. But I wanted Josh Smith so much that I happened to be up at 12. So I was like, oh, I can't wait to look that I got him.
Well,
And,
I do love it when oh yeah, sure. I mean, when I
but I
get the
didn't get him.
emails and
But I didn't get him.
I'm like, oh, the emails just went through. I'm like, oh yeah, I got them. Oh yeah, that's all good. But the other email you get of the breakdown of like, here's the rankings and this is what happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've noticed when I'm in ninth, I don't read that one as thoroughly as when I'm in second.
Yeah. I don't read their breakdowns. I think they're ridiculous. Um, but I do. And I do appreciate you making me realize that Josh Smith's horrible and Zach should drop him. So I'm Dan O'Day.
Yeah.
That's Steve Romano. That's our first part of today's podcast about the Draft Masters Fantasy Baseball 5x5 Roto League. Next, we'll talk about our head-to-head league we're in. Cheers.
Keep it real.